Fuck. I owe Godzilla 98 an apology. Kind of. It is no longer the dumbest movie I have ever seen. This one definitely takes the cake on that. But at least this one has themes. It even has good themes. Or it would have had good themes in a better movie, in a competent movie. Content warning. Come on, man. It's the fucking Purge. Oh, shit. Language. But yeah, there's naughty language, there's violence, there's blood, there's murder, dehumanizing language, classism, possible statutory rape. Thank you, producer Michael Bay, for that addition. And I get to talk about politics for the entire video. Viewer discretion is advised. This video will contain spoilers for The Purge. Surprisingly, this movie does actually have a plot. It's not a good plot, but if you don't want it spoiled, too bad. The founding fathers have taken control of your screen, and you're stuck here for the next, I don't know, 20 minutes? I don't know how long this is going to take. Anyway, enjoy. In the distant year of 2022, America has become virtually crime-free thanks to a party that came into power in the fall of the distant year of 2014. Apparently, 2 years later, they established the Purge. We all know the pitch. One night a year, all crime is legal for 12 whole hours. You can murder, you can pillage, do that R word thing that even if crime is legal, don't do. Don't ever do the R thing. You know the thing I'm talking about. Don't pretend you don't. Don't fucking do it. I'm watching you. We open on our first main character, James Sandon, played by Ethan Hawke, who gets to be in bad movies more often than he gets to be in good ones, I guess. Poor guy. He's driving home, and we establish through very natural dialogue that he sold security systems to the whole neighborhood, and that it's the night of the Purge. How fun.
Did you do the systems check I recommended?
Of course, no problems.
Okay, yeah, it's the same one I use. I only sell the best. All right, nobody's bothering us tonight.
Well, you have a safe night, Mr. Sanders.
He returns home to his wife and kids. They are in California and live in some kind of god-awful, gaudy mansion. The neighbor says to Mary Sandon, played by Lena Headey, that some people around the neighborhood have been saying that they basically paid for the addition to the Sandon home, implying that maybe the real Purge was the capitalism we made along the way.
New addition you built?
It's just amazing.
Thank you.
You know, not everyone had the year you did, Mary.
What you mean?
You know your husband sold a new security system to almost every home in this community. You know, some people are actually saying this neighborhood paid for that new addition on your home.
We meet the kids. Zoe, played by Adelaide Kane, as an older boyfriend named Henry, played by Tony Aller. We don't know how much older. We do know that she is somewhere underage and that presumably he's over 18, and that's gross. Zoe warns him that he needs to skedaddle before the Purge starts because her father disapproves. Charlie, played by Max Burkholder, is a weird kid who has a plot device in the form of a remote control car with a creepy doll head attached and a camera that he's playing with around the house. They sit down and have a conversation. James apparently broke some kind of sales record for his security systems, and Zoe is a typical teenage girl, meaning that she's angsty and hates her parents because that's not a trope that's old and boring. There's a broadcast that established the movie's rules again. Anything goes. Even murder. Especially murder. Please do murder. Murder, murder, murder. Murder, murder, murder. Did we mention that murder's an option? The positives of the Purge are espoused as well. Apparently, crime has dropped significantly, whatever that means, and unemployment is at 0% somehow. That's literally impossible. Unemployment will never be at 0%. Ever. So, like, this whole Purge thing, everyone realizes this would be a logistical nightmare, right? Like, how much leeway is there in this whole concept? I know the whole movie is focused literally on murder because they're making a ham-fisted point about stuff that we'll get onto later. But seriously, if you commit tax fraud during the Purge, is that a legal defense? It says here that you have 20 dependents and you literally live in a one-bedroom apartment. Huh. Well, you see, I filled this out on July 9th at 8:45 p.m. Oh, very good, sir. Until next year. At 7:01 a.m. on the 10th, do the police just bust down and see who didn't make it home after their coke and prostitute-filled bender? Do the police and the EMTs race to see if someone's going to be arrested or saved from an overdose? Anyway, this movie's stupid. They announce that the Purge is starting and James activates the security system, and because this is the stupidest movie, their security system is literally just metal shutters for the windows and doors and security cameras. Even though they just built a new addition to their home, for fuck's sake, doomsday preppers do a better fucking job of this. For like 500 grand, you can build yourself a stocked bank vault with its own fucking air supply and a year's worth of rations. But fine, whatever. Zoe finds out that Henry is still in the house, and they want to get hot and heavy, but first, Henry has to go convince Zoe's father that they're in love.
How old are you?
20.
She's a 17-year-old girl. So we can work this two ways. One, I punch you right in the mouth and you call the police on me.
Dad.
Or two, I just call the cops on you because this is illegal. She's a minor.
We're protected by the Romeo and Juliet laws.
We dated for a little while. I was a sophomore and he was a senior. It's fine.
No, it's not fine.
We've got a pre-existing juvenile foundational relationship. Statute 2705-3.
What? Texas statute?
Charlie is left alone in the control room, but wait, there's a new player. There's a man begging at the steel door to be let in. He's being chased. Charlie, being the only fucking person with a heart in this whole goddamn movie, opens the door and lets him in. James holds the man, played by Edwin Hodge, at gunpoint. Henry confronts James with the gun and opens fire, and this is exactly why Intimidate is not a replacement for the persuasion skill in D&D. These two morons shoot at each other. The stranger uses this chance to escape because he's the only smart person in the movie. Henry is found later lying face down, having bled out from one of the shots, which is still a better love story than Godzilla 98. Everything is a better love story than Godzilla 98. Twilight is a better love story than Godzilla 98. And I'm not being ironic. I genuinely believe that. And I hated those fucking movies. Sometime later, a group of morons in masks arrive, and they give us the heavy-handed message I was talking about earlier. The leader gives a speech about how we are the haves, and we are fine educated folk, and how the man that they are chasing is just a pig who doesn't know his place.
Your home tells me you're good folk, just like us. One of the haves. We are some fine, young, very educated guys and gals. The man you're sheltering is nothing but a dirty homeless pig. Grotesque menace to our just society who had the audacity to fight back. The pig doesn't know his place, and now he needs to be taught a lesson.
Because he's a homeless vet. Class warfare. That's the whole movie. Just class warfare. Rich people hate poor people and will murder them. There are tons of moments in the movie that are just about how poor people can't afford to protect themselves. But we'll talk about that more in the theme section. The fine, educated folk warn the Sandins that unless they let them murder the homeless man, they will assault the home and kill everyone inside. Because they're class traitors. James informs the family that the Purge defenses that they installed won't stop a serious assault, which again is really fucking stupid. All you have to do is install a fucking panic room. They're not that expensive relative to the fucking neighborhood you're living in. I hate this movie. I hate it so fucking much. Charlie leads the stranger to the secret hiding spot that was established earlier in the movie that I forgot to mention. But Zoe is also trying to hide there. But the stranger holds her at gunpoint until James gives him some flowers. Aggressively. James and Mary tie him up and torture him a little because they're assholes. He offers himself up after realizing that his presence might get 2 kids killed because he's a good person. Charlie and the Bloody Guy. Best characters of the movie. And they get, like, maybe 3 lines of dialogue. James and Mary have an attack of conscience and decide that they're not just going to let him be murdered for no damn reason. The classist purgers break in and try to do the murder. But Ethan Hawke remembers that he's a fucking action star and starts murdering them back. Which, he does a fair job at. The leader manages to stab and kill him, though. More purgers are coming, but the neighbor from earlier stops by with some others and finishes them off. The day is saved! But wait, there's 15 more minutes of this fucking movie left? Fucking Christ. The neighbors reveal that they want to kill the Sandins because they resent the fact that the Sandins took advantage of what is basically a scheduled natural disaster by selling them security systems, and they're jealous that the Sandins have a nice house. And it's like their patriotic duty to murder the Sandins.
It's time for you to quiet down, Mary. Let us do our duty as Americans.
The bloody stranger shoots one of the neighbors. He doesn't have a name in the movie, by the way. Not until the second or third or whatever movie. Which I haven't seen yet. But I assume I'm going to have to, because I reviewed this one. Mary decides to spare the rest of them, having a sit-down and a nice quiet time. One of the neighbors tries to steal Mary's shotgun, but it turns out that it makes a very good baseball bat, and that neighbor learns why. The credits roll with a report that this was a very successful purge, and more murders were committed than ever. Which is definitely propaganda. Also, there's a growing resentment of the Purge, obviously. Remember a couple of minutes ago when I said, class warfare? That's the whole movie. Just class warfare. That hasn't changed. Everything is about class warfare in this movie. There are several lines in the movie that imply that the Purge is just a means of culling poor people and to enrich rich people. The polite leader literally says this. The bloody stranger, who I'm informed is a recurring character in these movies, is a filthy pig who doesn't know his place.
Grotesque menace to our just society who had the audacity to fight back. The pig doesn't know his place, and now he needs to be taught a lesson.
His place is to be murdered at their feet. He's not supposed to stand up to that at all in the polite leader's eyes. One of the effects that the Purge apparently has is reducing unemployment as well as crime. The movie is implicitly conflating crime and joblessness. And I don't think it's really doing that intentionally, but I do think that the founding fathers, if they were real, certainly would. Because conservatives do that all the time in real life. They've just got the cause and effect backwards. Poverty causes more crime than crime causes poverty. Mostly because of the nature of how we choose to define crime. So, like, your Bernie Madoff will occasionally get arrested for destroying people's lives, but he was only really arrested when he started destroying rich people's lives, effectively. Like, his damage had been done, and widely he was considered very good at his job until he was arrested. But when a poor person steals some food so that they can eat, or sells drugs so that they have money because they are disenfranchised, they kind of like that's how crime works, basically. We choose to police poor areas a lot more than we police rich areas, and the police are more hostile to poor people, which are usually people of color. Again, that's the cause and effect there. Poverty causes crime much more than anything else, and we choose to punish these people instead of finding a way to enfranchise them back into society and reforming the societal structures that are affecting them. Anyway, so that's not the only aspect of class warfare here. The neighbors all resent the Sandins because they made money off of the backs of their terror. They bought Sandins in addition to their home and are shoving their success into the neighbors' faces.
You know, some people are actually saying this neighborhood paid for that new addition on your home.
Capitalism is the real villain of the Purge. Also, the real villain of real life as well. The Founding Fathers insist that violence is just a natural part of human nature, and that because of this, everyone seems weirdly okay with murder. They pit everyone against each other and build power. The metaphor is not so much subtext as it is just fucking text. And I want to point out, the writers of the movie don't believe that. They don't believe that murder is the natural state of anything. They know that people want to help each other. There are people like that in the movie, and there's growing resentment towards the Purge. But it's just, all of it is so fucking ham-fisted that I can't even enjoy a message that I agree with. I hate this movie. So I don't really like this movie. I think that is pretty obvious. And the reason I don't like this movie is because I think it is too obvious. Like, you don't need to bludgeon people with your fucking message quite so aggressively. The logic of the movie, or at least the logic of the Founding Fathers, is that everyone is primed for violence and not for compassion. And I don't think that's true. I know lots of people, and barely any of them are murderers. Murder isn't even in, like, my top 5 crimes that I would commit during the Purge. What I would want is a really silly Purge spin-off movie where, for 364 days, a group of friends are just collecting a lot of money, and on the night of the Purge, they just do illegal street racing. You know, like the Fast and the Furious, but dumber. I think I also don't like this movie is because it's right in a lot of ways. Capitalism does kind of pit us against each other. Like, we're all too busy struggling to survive to realize that if we helped each other, there is enough for everyone in America, and realistically, probably the world, at least for a while. and all that. We all can have healthcare, and we all can have college-level schools. We can have a minimum wage that's livable. We can have a minimum wage that's thrivable. The rich just have to pitch in their fair share. Instead, the rich pit us against each other. People are against minimum wage increases because then burger flippers are making as much as soldiers and EMTs. Yeah, that's the issue. Not that CEOs are making too much. People who provide a legitimate service might not be in abject poverty. Anyway, I'm not even a hypocrite yet. No one pays me for these videos. I make them because they're fun. No one watches them. But you can change that. Like, comment, and share. Buy red underwear and stitch the URL onto your butt. Then you'll be a communist and a consumer. Neat. Until next time, I'm Sean, your commie movie reviewer, signing off.